Today's video is brought to you by creativesdothis.com.
So here are the details of my sister's missing person. On March the 2nd, 2023, Sara messaged me, called me roughly around 7-ish, asking, sup, what's going on? Sara then later messaged me, just kind of asking if I knew somebody could pick her up from work. Typically, she just takes an Uber, so maybe she wasn't able to find an Uber quickly that night. Her roommate was out of town on a Veterans Women Retreat, so she was going to be home alone. Roughly around 10-11 p.m., I get a text message letting me know that she got in some random guy's truck with some cowboys, and she hoped they took her on a ride.
At 10:11 p.m. on March the 2nd, 2023, a text message lit up Michelle's phone. It was her little sister, Sara. "I'm getting into a random truck with some cowboys," she wrote. "I hope they take me for a ride." An hour later, Sara was spotted laughing inside a divided home in rural Reddick, Florida. She was eating snacks, watching videos, and talking with three strangers who knew each other too well, but her not at all. And then by 4 a.m., she was gone. No Uber was ever booked. No social media activity ever resumed. Her phone reset, wiped, and silent. One of the men at the house is no longer with us. One has been arrested for lying to police. The third changed his story more than once, and yet none of them have been charged. Sara's daughter has just turned 7. She doesn't know where her mother is. Her family is left still asking the same question that the sheriff's office has not answered. Where is Sara Ebersole? By the way, this is Dark Case, and you can call me Jack. You are now in the home of rare and unseen true crime cases, of unsolved and unexplained mysteries, and of other things that you may later regret knowing. As I said at the start, this video is brought to you by creativesdothis.com. As a lifelong creative myself, this site is my absolute dream. It's the thing that I wished existed, so I just made it. If you have a creative bone in your body, then just click the link and join the free newsletter, and we will send you 10 interviews with successful creatives. The lessons that they share are powerful. Honestly, it's priceless. I'm so excited to finally launch Creatives Do This, and I hope to see you in there. Today's silly little question: rank your last Christmas out of 10. Drop your ratings down in the comments. Today I'm sharing with you Sara's story. There's a lot of information here, a lot of clues left behind, and I'd really love it if you could watch and listen carefully, because maybe, just maybe, we can figure out what happened to Sara together. Right then, let's open up today's Dark Case. March the 2nd, 2023. It started out like any other Thursday for Sara Gail Ebersole. The 26-year-old single mother finished her shift, where she'd been dancing at a gentleman's club, Café Risqué, near the I-75 just outside Gainesville. At around 7 p.m, she texted her sister Michelle asking for a ride home. Michelle, though, couldn't make it, but Sara wasn't worried. She said that she'd just figure something out.
So here are the details of my sister's missing person. On March the 2nd, 2023, Sara messaged me, called me roughly around 7-ish, asking, sup, what's going on? I told her I was at a high school softball game because I was helping my daughter, Little League team learn how to use a Game Changer app. So I was practicing scoring the high school game, so I couldn't just get up and leave. Sara then later messaged me, just kind of asking if I knew somebody could pick her up from work. Typically, she just takes an Uber, so maybe she wasn't able to find an Uber quickly that night. Her roommate was out of town on a Veterans Women Retreat, so she was going to be home alone. She then told me someone from work would give her a ride home, and as far as I understand, she did arrive home. She took the roommate's dogs out, she walked them. Roughly around 10-11 p.m., I get a text message letting me know that she got in some random guy's truck with some cowboys, and she hoped they took her on a ride.
At 7:50, she messaged again, casual and sweet. "Tell the kids I said hi," she wrote. "Tell them I love them." This is a kind of text message that doesn't feel too important until what happens next happens. Sara made her way to Circle K in Reddick, and surveillance captured her at 10 p.m, where she was walking through the brightly lit aisles. She picked up some snacks, a drink, and then headed out into the dark. Then came that final message. "Getting into a random truck with some cowboys. Hope they take me for a ride." She stepped into a black pickup truck with two men, Leonard Anderson and James Robinson. That was the last time that she was seen by anyone not under suspicion. Later that night, the truck dropped Sara and Robinson off at a house on North US 441, and this house was shared by two other residents, those being James Shaler and Tisha McDermott. Inside, as far as we know, they watched videos and talked. At 1:24 a.m, Robinson texted another man, Tyrone Mormon. He told him that Sara was there and did he want to come by.
They say that she left between the hours of 3 and 5 a.m. on March 3rd, 2023 with a possible Uber. We do know now it was never an Uber. At first it was said it was a blue vehicle, then a black vehicle, sedan. They say a Kia, a Hyundai, a Honda, multiple vehicles have been mentioned. They say that she left for approximately 10 to 20 minutes and then came back. One of the individuals stated that he heard her outside, but when he went outside, she was no longer there.
Tyrone then arrived in a blue Hyundai Sonata, and by 4 a.m. he left. And importantly, he left with Sara in his passenger seat. That is the last known moment, for now, that Sara was seen before vanishing into thin air. Her phone continued to ping briefly, but to make things much more concerning here, Sara's phone was reset. Her accounts were all seemingly wiped, and with that, certain windows into her online world were gone. Right, so let's go back to the house where she spent her final known night. Sara didn't previously know anyone inside that house. She was a spontaneous and curious person, an explorer as her sister Michelle put it. But the three people that she ended up with that night weren't her friends. They were people with long histories, dark habits, and even darker connections. James Robinson lived on one side of the duplex, a place that was known for illicit substance activity. He'd reportedly been using heavily on the night that Sara came over. On the other side lived Shaler and McDermott. When Sister Michelle investigated the case for herself, they told her that the four of them had hung out until about 3 a.m, and that Sara left in what they believed was an Uber. However, that turned out to be false. There was no Uber booked in her name, but there was a man, Tyrone Mormon. Text messages between Robinson and Mormon did confirm that Tyrone showed up at the house at around 2 a.m. Witnesses then saw Sara leave with him at around 4 a.m. And remember that night, Robinson texted Mormon saying, "She's here if you want to meet her." So I guess there's a couple of things in that message. If he's saying she's here, we can guess that there was some prior discussion about Sara, and why would he want to meet her? It seems like there was a conversation prior to this. Later, according to Sister Michelle, Robinson admitted to something chilling. He said that Sara didn't walk out to the car. He said that he and Mormon had to carry Sara to the car. If that's true, that raises a disturbing question. What condition was Sara in when she left the home? Tyrone later told investigators that he never actually met Sara. He said that he was actually out of town when she went missing. But cell phone data proved otherwise. On December 20th, 2023, nearly a year after her disappearance, investigators found footage showing Tyrone and Sara together, situated at a 24-hour convenience store in northwest Marion County. This was at around 4 a.m. on March the 3rd. He was arrested the same day for providing false information to law enforcement, but he was released after posting bond. He has now refused to speak further with police. James Robinson, the man who first brought Sara into the house, well, we're not going to get any answers out of him because he has already passed due to substance issues in May of 2024. That only left Shaler, McDermott and Mormon with possible answers, the people who last saw her. But none of them, not one, has offered a full account of what happened or what happened next. For weeks, Sarah's phone remained a missing piece of the puzzle. But dedicated sister Michelle wasn't waiting around. She dug through her sister's digital life herself, breaking into iCloud, Snapchat, Gmail, and more. She passed everything that she found onto the detective on the case. Then one clue surfaced. Sarah's phone had stayed active until 2:40 a.m. And strangely, she was watching YouTube videos. Then at 2:57 a.m., someone logged into her Gmail. But sometime after that is when the phone was reset and wiped. So there's a couple of things there. If it was Sara who was on her phone just before 3 a.m., and the accounts given by some of the people in the house are true, what happened during that window, where she went from being on her phone watching videos, to then being seemingly unconscious being carried out to a car? Anyway, by March the 6th, the device stopped pinging altogether. When investigators finally got access to Tyrone Mormon's phone in December, they discovered that he had lied once again. He hadn't lost or discarded his phone. In fact, a witness had told them that he still had it. And inside that phone were location pings placing Tyrone and Sara at that convenience store early that morning, the one that was found on CCTV after nearly a year. And yet, somehow no one knows where they went afterwards. And to make things even weirder still, it's not just Sara's phone that went missing.
My sister's roommate paid a third-party service to ping my sister's last location of her iPhone. That last location was at Lake Livingston, LLC, which is a Orange Grove agricultural farm, a 1,200-acre farm in the middle of Polk County, Florida, near Lake Windham, something like that. I did drive up there myself. I was able to gain access to the property as far up as the gate as I could get, without hopping a fence to trespass property. Law enforcement in Marion County told me that someone had gone out to the property and they did not locate her near the storage units where the ping was.
Michelle decided to search Sister Sara's apartment, something that the sheriff's office, for some reason, never did from what I can see. What she found were a whole bunch of missing things, which, when put together, start to paint a scary picture. Gone was a folder of legal documents that Sara had compiled for her custody battle. Also gone, a teddy bear with her daughter's name stitched on it, and a binder containing everything that Sara had saved about her ex, Joseph Mayton. She had been planning to fight Joseph for custody of the daughter.
It was mentioned that she left her wallet on top of a vehicle at some point. I do know that my sister had over $1,000 cash on her. She had made the statement to me that when she went and worked her work shift, she was going to show up to the child's father home with all of her money to barter to see her child. So I intended that's what she went to do.
Michelle believes that Sara had around $2,000 in cash on her that night. This was money that she had saved up to secure visitation. But no one knows what happened to it. No one knows if she ever made that exchange. That money just seemed to vanish into the ether.
Her roommate reached out to me the next day and said, "Hey, have you heard from Sara? I can't reach her." And at that point, I was concerned because she would respond.
Sara's roommate was the first to flag that something was wrong. She texted Michelle when Sara never returned home, and then together they tried to file a missing persons report on March the 3rd, but the police told them to wait. So the two of them searched without authorities. Michelle organised volunteer searches. She brought in cadaver dogs to the Reddick house. She chased leads, tracked down names, and pushed for warrants. She did what law enforcement would not. However, the deeper that Michelle looked, the more twisted the picture became.
Members of the Field Force Unit are parking along Highway 441 in Reddick. As investigators tape up the property 27-year-old Sara Ebersole was last seen in back in March. Officials with the Marion County Sheriff's Office say they received a tip to investigate near this location. The tip came from volunteers with the group Marion County Search and Rescue. Team Director Frank Marino says 3 of their search dogs reacted to something nearby.
Once we had some sort of indication, we secured the location where nobody was allowed on until the Sheriff's Department came and took over the location.
The group was approached by Ebersole's sister, Michelle.
I could see where they kind of were adjacent on the property, but I physically was not able to enter. And that's because of a chain of custody of command. If they had to have found something, they didn't want me physically on the property as if I had led them to a particular spot or anything like that.
9 months later, Ebersole's family are still waiting for answers.
Families shouldn't have to fight this hard for their family members. there should have been a lot more transparency and a lot more communication with the Marion County Sheriff's Office. With as much information as I provided them with for the last 9 months, I basically get no comment back.
It's a difficult situation, which is why Marino is trying to help.
I mean, you can have 1,000 people out there, and as a family member, you still feel it's not enough because your emotions take over.
MCSO officials confirm nothing suspicious was found on the property, but they will expand their search if needed.
We've just introduced Joseph Mayton. He wasn't just Sarah's ex, but also the father of her child. Their relationship had been rocky for years. I'm actually going to show you some of their correspondence on screen. I can't show you too much, because most of it is made up of swear words or just vulgar stuff that's going to get taken down from YouTube. Anyway, Sarah had filed a restraining order against him, accusing him of harassment and stalking. She even changed her phone number more than once to try and get away from him.
On January 23rd, my sister messaged me she got a new phone. She got a new phone because JM was stalking her through her device again, through her cell phone, through use of her Google account. He signs on as one of her devices. He's able to see her text messages, locations, emails, photos, all the above. Anything you do on a cell phone, he has complete access to. So Sarah had gotten a new cell phone. She messaged me, hey, this is my new number. I asked her why. She said because JM was basically harassing her again, stalking her through the device. The last time she had seen her daughter, they got into an altercation. He got angry. He had thrown something and hit my niece in the face. My sister got mad. He became violent. He told my sister not to come back, yada, yada. So my sister had not seen her daughter in a few weeks since that point. So she had gotten the new phone, kind of blocked him. He didn't have her new information. At the time of her disappearance, even though she got a new phone, it was actively using that new phone on January 29th, 2023. In March, he wouldn't have had probably access to her location or anything. So he wouldn't have known physically where she was. So if I give out these people's names or any details close to the addresses, he will then be able to look them up. I believe wholeheartedly that he is trying to plant evidence on those people. What I believe happened was, I think the people at the home knew she had $1,000 plus on her. I think that they stole her cash. I think that she left in that vehicle and got dropped off at her home when she realized her cash wasn't there, and she had possibly contacted JM and told him she had the cash and wanted to see her child. I think he probably agreed, or he picked her up himself. I think she went back to the house and started yelling and screaming. And that's why they said they heard her. My sister would become irate if she thinks somebody took her money. She would be clapping her hands, acting all kinds of ghetto. And I think that's why they're not giving up all the information. I think she did leave their house, and I think she showed up at his, JM's. I think that they stole her money.
At the time that Sarah disappeared, Joseph still had full custody of their daughter. However, as we know, Sarah had been working towards getting her back. But after Sarah vanished, things took a strange turn. Just more proof that digital footprints may be holding more clues than we realise day to day. Joseph reportedly started following some missing persons Facebook pages about Sarah's case. So I guess he could have been concerned. But from everything we know about him, it doesn't seem like he would be. And then to make things worse for Joseph, on March the 29th, a friend came forward claiming that Joseph had told them, Sarah is dead. That very same day, Joseph was arrested. But not for anything to do with Sarah. Instead, it was because he assaulted a 75-year-old man. A few weeks later, he was fired from his job, managing a Kayla Suites motel. However, he wasn't done with that place. On April the 24th, Joseph illegally entered the office and then rekeyed 2 motel doors, room 119 and 121. Michelle begged investigators to search them, but they refused. So that begs the question, could it be possible that something happened in one or both of those rooms? I guess we'll likely never know.
The roommate then becomes concerned. So when she reaches out to me, I immediately start calling Sarah. I'm not getting hold of Sarah. The phone is going to voicemail. This is off for my sister. I explained to her that when I spoke to Sarah, she said she was going to, on her next work shift, which was on March 2nd, she was going to take all that money from work, and she was going to then show up to Ocala Suites, to the hotel where her child's father was employed and lived. We're just going to call him JM, since my videos are getting flagged for mentioning his name. but you should know his name by now. So she says that she's going to show up to JM's hotel. I try to disregard that, but I was like, Sara, it's not a good idea. You don't need to do that. You know, he only wants money from you. That's all he ever cares about is money. It's not about the care of my niece or her child. Sara was not going to be swayed to do anything other than that. So I don't know what happened the night of my sister's disappearance. They say she left between 3 and 5 a.m. They say she left in a car. She came back. She left again. And that's the last time they saw her. One of the gentlemen said they had called her after that to check in the next day, and her phone was going to voicemail.
Eventually, Joseph packed up and left Florida entirely, taking Sara's daughter with him to Kentucky. And now things get even more weird somehow. I mean, this one's crazy. He also changed the girl's name. Sara had named her Dahlia, but Joseph renamed her to Cora. And this name is one of the biggest red flags I've ever seen in my life. Back in 2006, a young girl named Coral Rose or Cora Fullwood was abducted and murdered in Florida. Records show that during that investigation, Joseph Mayton was interviewed about the case. I mean, how wild is that? One of the most crazy things I've ever heard. Joseph, however, was never charged in that case, but he did refuse to give DNA, and he told officers that he didn't trust police. So just to recap, he changed his daughter's name with Sara, who is missing, to the name of a girl whose murder investigation he was a suspect in. What is going on? Michelle couldn't ignore the mounting connections. She couldn't ignore the bizarre name change, the missing documents, the eerie silence over the case. She doesn't, however, believe that Tyrone Mormon is responsible for what happened to her sister, at least not fully. She does believe, though, that he might know parts of the story, but she thinks she knows the person who would benefit the most from Sara vanishing would be Joseph. Joseph has never spoken publicly. He never joined the searches for his child's mother. He never helped to raise awareness on the case. And when Michelle tried to speak up, Joseph filed a cyberstalking injunction to stop her and others from naming him on social media. Now, some of the people closest to Sara are legally barred from discussing the man that she feared most.
Hey, just letting everyone know, today is July 3rd, 2023. I had to make an additional TikTok account for my sister's missing person just because a certain individual, I guess we won't name him, is going on my TikTok account and I guess community standard violation all of my videos, all of my posts, and TikTok is steadily taking them down, so eventually they may remove my account. So I need to have a backup account so I'm still able to share updates about my sister. So please go ahead and add yourself to this account. Thank you so much.
Sara Gail Ebersole would be 29 now. But from the pictures that we see, from the information that we have, she seems frozen at 26, walking into that gas station with her sequin tank top and black sweater, where it's very possible she was unaware she may have only hours left to live. Since then, there have been no confirmed sightings, no verified tips, no movements on her bank account, no posts from her social media. Her daughter is now growing up far away and with a different name. I'm sure she's being told a different version of the truth. And Michelle, who seems like one of the strongest women I've ever seen, she is still searching. She's organised protests, put up billboards, pleaded for national coverage, pushed for more warrants, more searches, more transparency on this case. She keeps Sara's name alive on Reddit, in Facebook groups, and through every reporter who will listen. In March of 2025, 2 full years after Sara vanished, the sheriff's office once again called Tyrone Mormon a person of interest, but still no charges, and still no Sara.
Also, the missing persons went out. They're still listing the picture of my sister with the truck. The truck's been located over 2 months ago. I don't know why they haven't issued a new one. Other counties that have been notified, like Polk County, when I spoke to them, didn't know my sister was missing. She's not listed in the database anywhere as a missing person other than the flyer that Marion County made themselves, which is ridiculous. I was told by the Marion County Sheriff's Department that they had sent somebody out to that property in Polk County and farm workers were investigated. They were questioned. They took statements. They didn't locate her or the cell phone near the storage units. Polk County verified to me that they never went out to that property. That is their jurisdiction. They didn't know my sister was missing. They had never heard about her. They had not spoken to Marion County in regards to it, and they had not been out. And then Marion County turned around and said another police department went out there. That would make no sense. That's not their jurisdiction, and I called them out on it, and I didn't get a really response.
As the months keep on passing, advocates keep asking the same questions. What happened to Sarah's money? What happened to Sarah's documents? What about Joseph? They also ask the questions, why haven't investigators done more? My humble opinion is because she danced in a risque establishment, and sadly, it's just a fact that there are two different tiers to justice in this world. I see it day in, day out in these cases. There is no way that by this stage it can just be a coincidence. But Sara Ebersole, she wasn't just a dancer. She wasn't just someone's story of a problem ex. She was a sister, a mother, a woman fighting to get her child back. A woman who just needed a ride home, who was dreaming of the future. Until the truth is found, her family refuses to let her story go quiet. There is still time to speak up. There's still time to do the right thing. There's still time, one way or another, to find Sarah. And I hope that maybe this video could help. Let me know your thoughts and theories down in the comments. This case is just crazy. Today's video is brought to you by creatorsdothis.com. Click the link, join the free newsletter, and we will send you a ton of free stuff to help you take your creative thoughts and turn them into a stable income and a chilled life. Be careful out there, and I'll see you soon.